Hey YouTube, welcome back to EagleX TCG, and for this video, instead of being as negative as I was last video, I want to go into what I think Bandai could immediately change in order to make this game more, enjoyable for both the casual and the competitive community. And then past that, I'm just going to talk about some things I'd like to see in the upcoming sets to really change the trajectory of this game. Now, that being said, if you like this sort of content, make sure you like the video, and if you love it, make sure you subscribe for future Fusion World as well as Gundam card game content. Maybe even go down in the description and check out my second channel where I focus more on anime, manga, and their video games. And then, yeah, so we're gonna hop into this. Speaking of Gundam, the card game, I will not be going to Gen Con because I did not get into any of the Gundam events, so I'm gonna stay my butt at home. And then on top of that, I will be playing in an online Gundam tournament, but we'll talk more about that later in the video. Okay, let's hop into the meat and potatoes. Okay. So obviously, when it comes to a video like this, yes, we're gonna have to discuss a potential ban list, and this is my wish list ban list. This is like, if everything could go right, in my opinion, what we would have. But the first thing I want to actually start with are cards that I don't think should be touched. And I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, what? Are you serious? But the first card on my list, actually the only card on my list I don't think should be touched, is actually this Majin Buu Evil SR. A lot of people have been saying that this is a problem. A lot of people have been saying this is an issue. However, while the card is strong and it does promote this passive gameplay where you play a cantrip, you activate Majin Buu's effect, and then you get rid of the cantrip, and after getting rid of the cantrip, you draw a card, you discard a card from your opponent's hand if they're at 6 or higher. This is a powerful effect. However, the one thing about this card that I'm going to say right here is that this card is a 3-cost 25k. Which means that on curve, every single color in the game should be able to deal with it. On curve. It should be able to activate its effect a singular time before getting wiped off the board. And it took their entire turn to play it. So this is a card where I think that actually the power level isn't that high. It's just that it does force us to build decks in a way that we may not want to as well. But when it comes down to it, Red can be playing Sphere, Red can be playing God Kamehameha. Both of these cards are staple level and should be in decks that can get rid of this card. Blue, let's not even talk about it, because between Sickle and Absolute Lightning, and I know for a fact, just to make sure you don't get pinned behind Broly BR, Absolute Lightning should be in your builds. You should be getting rid of this too. Satan City has the ability to Great Sandman or 4-cost Gohan, both able to be used on curve. When it comes to green matchups, Broly BR has Shuddering Roar. You don't want to Absolute Lightning this card, and Big Bang Attack may be a little weird. So perhaps in green, this could be an issue. But at the same time, green can just get far enough in the game and have an advantage that's almost unsurmountable. And so maybe that's just a balancing factor versus green. They don't have the best card to get rid of this. But you also have Gohan from the Nameku deck. So what are we really talking about here? Black has ways to remove it. Yellow, it may be a little sticky to remove this, but even so, Final Explosion is on curve, so you've got a lot of options here. I don't think this card is sitting here with barrier on it just ruining a game. I think you just need to understand that if this deck is in rotation, if yellow is a strong color and can use this card in mass, you should be looking out for this card, and your removal should reflect that. This card is powerful, but it is easily removable, and I think that's why this card actually probably can just stay. Now, if this card does stay though, we do probably need to put Babidi to 1. I would like a semi-limit, but so far we have not seen a semi-limit in this game. I do think that semi-limits in this game would be a healthy addition. I'll talk about that next, but this card right here, it's actively cheating. You're playing 3 to double the amount of energy that you were spending that turn. You're playing 3 to play 6, and I think that that in itself warrants you to look at this card. But on top of that, losing 1 card from your 8-9 card hand because of the previous card we just talked about, okay. Losing 2 because they played Babidi into Buu is actively insane. Not to mention, this card just scales the later you are in the game. You play your 5-cost Kid Buu and you drop this Babidi, and this Babidi drops something else, you are going to be getting so much from your leader, the card that you dropped alongside of Babidi, things like that. So this is one of those cards where I do think that he does kind of push the envelope a little too far. However, I think at 1, I don't like it. There's no way to recur this card. and you have to hard draw it. The searches aren't really that popular right now. So I think that we could open up a semi-limit section, and that this card would be right there in the semi-limit section. I think that's where we would need to, this card would be good at 2. Now, speaking of cards that we could put at 2, I want to put Kefla there. A lot of people have missed this card. It's a good one of if your deck has enough TOP, but TOP will always be a popular saga to revisit. It will always be. It's the foremost point in the Dragon Ball Super anime, and until, you know, Toei, Shueisha, and Capsule Corp get their ish together, it will still be the foremost part in the Super anime. So I think that Kefla going up to 2 would be great. And this is why I think that semi-limits are important. There are cards that you put them at 1, and it just feels like you either never see it, or your opponent just got lucky and saw theirs, unless searches are involved. However, at 2, that is a card. We put plenty of cards at 2 in our deck for tech spaces. I think that a powerful card should be at 2, not 1. 1 feels like Saki, 2 feels, you know, acceptable. And Kefla's there. Kefla would breathe way more life into U7 Goku decks. It could potentially have Top Coup being something that you could look at again one day. It would benefit things like Beerus, Jiren. I think Kefla at 2 brings a lot of good power to red without just giving them probably their arguably best card at cheating things out just right to the forefront. I think Kefla, it's about time. It's about time. Now, a card that I think potentially deserves a limit to 1 is the almighty Final Hope Slash. This card is very, very strong. I think it does entirely too much work, and I think it's at this weird space where its effect didn't seem that great at first. Bouncing a 2 cost, you often wouldn't want to do this to your opponent because a lot of 2 and 1 costs have good on-play effects, so you wouldn't want to give your opponent more mileage, more bang for their buck. You're also potentially putting something that's rested back in their hand for them to use as combo power if they so need it. So you wouldn't really want to use this on your opponent. Sometimes there are effects that you put your opponent's cost down, and then you end up bouncing the Final Hope back. Or bouncing it back with Final Hope. Like, I've bounced 5 drops back to my opponent with Final Hope, because I'm like, if you want to tap 5 for this again, that's your entire turn, and I'm okay with that. But I think that this card, in conjunction, especially with Pilaf, lesser so with Videl, makes a very, very disgusting amount of combo power that's easily recyclable. And for only 1, you're not investing a lot to get 20k on something and bounce a valuable on play or on attack like Videl back to your hand to then use the following turn or later that turn. It's very, very gross, and I think that we're at a point where you do not start a blue deck without putting in 4 Pilaf and 2 Final Hope. And when that's the case, you got to look at both of those cards. Are they staple because they are snapped, or are they staple because they are solid? And without Pilaf, Final Hope Slash may not be snapped, but I think that with Final Hope in the game, you have to look at every single on play 1 and 2 drop more intently. And that's a design space issue. When you have to sit down and go, oh yeah, we made this really cool card for an archetype. Oh, awesome. How does it pair with Final Hope though? Oh yeah, make it worse. That's when you have to look at Final Hope. That's a limiter on design space, and at that point, I think Final Hope needs to go down to 1. We only play it at 2 in most decks anyway. However, at 1, you're either going to find it, and if you do find it, you need to save it for a crucial play unless your Videl is ready to recycle it. And I think at that point, having 3 energy just to play a card and not lose it for the next couple turns until you find a Videl is worth it. I think that at 1, this card becomes a powerful tech, but it doesn't become a, like foundational strategy of your color. So that's just me on that one. Now, we're going to get to cards that I think just gotta go, all right? Cards that got to go. Wait, I do want to quickly talk about this online tournament. We got a quick little plug to put in here. Like I said, homie is a friend, but he will be putting in this tournament. It happens every week, actually, I believe, on Wednesday. But yeah, Gundam card game. It's the EagleX webcam event, and the format is beta plus spoilers. That means you can play the beta like format, but anything that we've seen online, you can proxy. and that allows you to put a lot more depth into your deck. This should be pretty cool. It's a best of 1 30-minute rounds. Entry fee is $7. Time Wednesdays 7 p.m. Central. And then yeah, the prizing is in the C details part, and the C details part will be in the description because the link will be there. As you can see on the side, you got the Hito Yui resources, the Relina EX resource. We are playing for valid prizes, y'all. So let's get into this. All right, now back to the Fusion World related content. So when it comes to Pilaf, everybody understands why this card needs to go. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you feel like Blue would be trash without Pilaf. Well, no. Blue is not going to be trash without Pilaf. Blue is going to take a hit in how it works. Blue is going to need to focus more on defense because Pilaf is going to provide tens of thousands of combo power across the course of a game. Pilaf is going to turn cards that should be 1-off or 2-off techs into recyclable just utility. Pilaf is at a point where he limits design space because any 1-cost Earthling card, be it battle card or extra, needs to be reevaluated for how often it can be recycled with Pilaf. Pilaf allows Blue to sit on a chunk of combo power, and if you guys play Blue, just imagine, just remember how different the games feel when you see Pilaf at 1 or more versus, or sorry, 2 or more versus when you see him at 1 the entire game, or 0. Your game feels so much different, and it's not that you can't win without Pilaf, it's that you are so used to being able to do the extension of your plays that Pilaf provides, that when you don't see Pilaf, you're like, oh, my deck is nerfed. Well, your deck just has to work differently, and your deck isn't built to work without Pilaf, so that's why you feel so bad when you don't have Pilaf. The point is here, Pilaf is at a point where he just does too much. He just does too much. There are entire ratios that need to change that don't because Pilaf is there. And if Pilaf goes, then we get to shift at least 4 spots in the deck to tech for defense. We get to shift some stuff around, and it's just at this point, Pilaf needs to go. A lot of decks do not feel great about the fact that when Pilaf is able to hit the board multiple times, when your opponent can tap 5 for their main play and then still have 3 energy left over for Pilaf, and then whatever else, maybe a final hope, things like that, this guy gets out of control. Once this guy is gone, we just have a lot of design space opened up. They can go a little harder on 1-cost Earthling cards that they know just won't be abused by Pilaf, and it'll be better for everybody. I promise you. Now, the next card that I'm just going to put on the gotta go list, Majin Buu Kid. This card sucks. A lot of people are looking at the SR, but it's this card that closes out the most games. I've spoken on this before, but when your opponent is at 3 life and a Majin Buu player opens up and goes, okay, tap 5 Kid Buu, play out this Buu, or Bobbity into this Buu, and then they can literally go, okay, swing 30 at your 3rd life, give me a super combo, bet. I'll swing 20 at your 3rd life. Give me another card, or maybe I'll put 10 on it. It doesn't matter. I'll just put 10 on it just to see what I can do. Oh, okay, you still aren't at 2 life? Okay, bet. Pop the Bobbity. If you're at 6 or more cards in hand, you are going to lose a card. Then I untap my leader and my Majin Buu Kid. I'm going to swing 30 one more time. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, you're finally at 2 life. I'm just going to swing now with this. Or let's say you drop the 3rd super combo or 2 10Ks to block on the 3rd 30k swing that turn. Then at this point, you still have your leader. If your board was clear, if you just had nothing on the board when you played that Kid Buu Bobbity into this Buu, you now still have your leader to swing in that 3rd life a 4th time. And by now, you can count their hand and be like, okay, how many super combos in trash? What color am I playing? Do they have energy up? Okay, swing with my leader. Put 20k on him to make him 40. Oh, finally, it got through. Okay, my double strike and shotgun with everything. Now, this guy literally causes that issue. His 30k body, the ability to swing twice that turn. If you ban this card, Buu actually has to work for its lunch again. Like, Buu is not just going to get you down to 3 life and just understand the moment it untaps. The next time it untaps and has a free turn, you're going to get blasted out of the game. Now, this card goes, and Buu will actually have to use other valid strategies that aren't as cheesy. So I don't think it just goes, like, I don't think I even need to explain more why this particular card needs to go. Now, the third and the last card I'm going to talk about needing a ban, y'all guessed it, it's still Android 17 and 18. I'm not sure if you guys have been on the client and seen how this like singular card with androids ran the event where you can only use set 1 leaders, but androids legitimately doesn't need another leader. You just have androids and all the cards that like, it was just top tier in that set. You can make some counter picks, yes, but then you might lose to some other things. But android's just top tier in that format. To be honest, android just top tier in this format. Like, if you guys have been testing, this deck actually can play against Halo Coup very well. It can play against Buu very well. It might have some stumbling points versus Broly BR just because they are in the same color, and Broly BR will get online much faster and start putting on cards that this deck can't actually remove until maybe turn 5-ish, 6-ish. But you really do have this deck being where it is, mainly because this card exists. I do think that without this card, Androids is still the best ramper in the game, but it takes longer. You're going to have to run Lab. You're going to have to run 3-cost rampers on top of Lab, but you will get there. You will, at some point in the game, have more energy than any deck is supposed to have. This singular card just forces it to happen at a much earlier stage of the game. There is still, to this day, no reason why a deck in their turn 5 should be at 8 energy. There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason. I don't care. Like, I love playing this deck, but that is in balance. And once this is out of the game, androids will actually have to worry about any deck that is aggressive. Normally, a control deck, a late game deck, that's the part where they have to fight for their life, to prove their mettle. They have to survive until it's late game. This, literally, if you ramp on turn 3, the turn 4, you are taking yourself from early to mid game to what most decks would consider late game threat level. That's not good. That is not, and that is why this deck has survived this long. If you get rid of this card, Androids becomes not only just a de facto late game deck, but you bring the ability to let other green decks thrive. Gohan may actually flex and breathe a little bit. Right now, if you are not a gimmick green deck, if you're not a Nameku, if you are not a Broly BR, if you are not a Vegeta Scouter or Vegeta, you right now have to look at your green deck and go, okay, but why would I play this over androids? The answer is none, because none of those decks can get to 8 energy on turn 5. Okay, rant over. Now, the next part of this video that I wanted to talk about is going to be what I would like to see moving forward in this game. And I think the first thing I need to see when they make these archetypes, as I said in the last video, I don't want to focus on, oh man, they just don't do it correctly anymore. But the fact of the matter is, they have done it correctly. We have gotten our Boos. We have gotten our Babies. When Baby was released, Baby was magnificent in what it could do. It had great cards like the Grade 8 Baby. It had recycling with Trunks. It had cards like Bola. The deck was self-sufficient out the gate. If they can do that with Baby, if they can do that with Halo Coup, if they can do that with Buu, they can do that with their other leaders and archetypes. I don't need them to be broken. I need them to function. I need them to have plays that make you actually want to play them over the decks that have been here forever. I need them to be at least B+, you know? At least 3. I think if a set releases 5 leaders, 3 of them should be impacting the meta. You can have 2 duds. You can have 2 duds that need retro support to get back into the game. But 3 of those should be immediately able to contend with what's going on. And maybe 1 or 2 of them should be, you know, at the point where, okay, I can actually throw hands with this. But we've seen that they can do that. It's the picking and choosing. It's the difference in quality control. It's the fact that you can make a deck like Majin Buu and Baby in set 4, while also simultaneously making a deck like Adult Gohan in set 4. That should not be happening. And the first thing I think they should do to try to fix this is Broly B, this card right here, Broly BR, the secret rare. They need more stipulations. I said in my other video that this card needs to say, it needs to be restricted somehow. Like this card, if it said double strike on play, if you have a Sand leader, double strike on play, switch this card to active mode. Then the part I would like to see on a card like this in the future is if your leader is a Sand card or has the Sand trait, add the top card of your deck to your life and then choose all battle cards that cost of 2 or more in all battle areas and KO them. Just a fix like that would mean that this card would immediately be able to go in the archetype that was intended for Broly BR. It would potentially buff original Broly as well as Gohan. But it would not just be slotted into androids as it currently is now and just being their top end of choice because of the heal and the board wipe. This is the type of stuff I would like to see. When you start having cards like that, you really start being able to flourish. Look at Majin Buu, the Majin Buu SR. If the Majin Buu SR that we talked about at the beginning of this video said activate main once per turn, KO one of your battle cards, draw one card, and then if that card, like this literally could just say, okay, KO one of your opponent, KO one of your battle cards. If that card was an evil wizard, Wicked Soul, or Majin, draw a card. Then if your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, your opponent discards 1 card from their hand. Just having that fix allows you to put this in the Majin Buu deck and it activate correctly. And then it can be played in other decks for the discard, but you don't necessarily get the same amount of passive play. And even in the Majin Buu deck, you need to sacrifice something. You could sacrifice a Yamu and get the draw, but you couldn't sacrifice a Hercule. You couldn't sacrifice a Psychic Demon. You have to sacrifice something in theme. And I think that more things like this will influence your deck building. It'll influence what leaders you play and what archetypes you play. And I think that's all you need to make some of these worthwhile. Just a simple line of text can make more thought-provoking deck building options. A card that I like in general. A lot of people will disagree with this. I saw one person disagree with it in the comments. Jiren SR. Was Jiren SR plus the Jiren leader a annoying gatekeeper for the format? Yes. Yes, it was. However, Jiren is what I consider the ideal design, not in exactly what it did, because it was really trash that Yellow could not get over it when it came out. It was an auto loss in Yellow decks. But I like Jiren in the sense that he works good in all. He works well in all red decks, but he works amazing amounts of value in the deck he was intended for. That is how I think every good SR should be. There should be some that are just staples across every color, yes. But there should be a lot of these SRs that are like, you use them in another deck, they're good cards. You use them in the deck they're intended for, they're great cards. And that is going to have you think more about what leaders you want to run instead of just, oh, I'm going to use the best generic leader and we ball. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is activate battles. I said in the last video, this is a part of the game that we really have not explored to the best of our ability, and we need to get better at them. Look at red, right? I think that the whole point of being able to use cards on your opponent's turn is to actually have cards that impact the board on your opponent's turn. Now, black has ultimate sparking, okay? Yellow has Hell Rakshasa. Yellow has Time Rewound. Yellow has a lot of cool stuff, but I think it's finally time that we move past you gain power and maybe draw. We need less Gallic Guns, less Sands, less Sand Prides, less Galactic Meteors, less Earth destroying blows, and we need more cards like Kamehameha, but they need more functionality. This card is a set 1 card. Actually, it's a starter deck card. Kamehameha, activate battle, choose 1 leader or up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, and it gains plus 15k for the battle. Then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, and it gains minus 5,000. This needs to be different. This literally needs to be different. This could actively say 1 cost. You know, activate battle, choose 1 leader up to use 1 or up to 1 of your battle cards, your leader up to 1 of your battle cards, it gains a certain amount. But then choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and gains minus 5k power for the turn. If you have and just list every character that you use a Kamehameha. I know this is like a lot, maybe they can add a Turtle School trait later on, but just like literally just be like, if you have a Son Goku, Son Gohan, Yamcha, Roshi, or Krillin on the board, this can give something minus 20k for the turn. Allow it to either KO something or allow it to like turn something to a non-factor. but limit that to what you have on board. That way, if you have one energy up and your opponent sees that you've got a Krillin and a Gohan on board, they have to realize that they might lose somebody in the backswing. They might have to sequence differently. They might have to know that they're not leaving something on the board. They're not getting to next turn with this guy on the board because you have a threat that could remove. We need more activate battles that impact the board on your opponent's turn. We need a reason to not tap out every single turn. Then your opponent to have to respect that you are not tapped out. That is a part of the game that is woefully underrepresented, and we need that to change to up the complexity of the game and keep it less stale. Bring back defensive turns. Bring back cards that are specifically used on your opponent's turn for every color, not just yellow and sort of black because of ultimate sparking. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is the inclusion of barrier tech. All right, barrier tech is something that we don't currently have, but we only have 3 cards with barrier in the game, and that's, I think, a Bobbity, a Buu, and then this Frieza. Well, I think that right now, it's not too much of a problem. However, we are starting to get to the point where these barrier cards are starting to shine brighter. Yellow decks can put in, yellow decks are already running 3 or so alt Friezas. Well, I said alt Friezas, I just like the alternate rarity, my bad. They're running SCR Friezas, 3 or so SCR Friezas. But yellow decks are starting to tech in the Buu as well, just to be able to withstand Blue's amazing ability to clear the board with relative ease every single turn. This is cool, right? However, it could get worse in the future. As we keep going, if yellow gets better and better staples and can just build around these barrier threats, we're going to sit here at a point where you just have a field of barrier threats. We need more barrier tech, and we also honestly need barrier cards that don't just exist in yellow. And I don't mean this is in every color should have barrier card, but there should be by now some 2-cost barrier blockers. We are at a point where blocker is such a dead keyword because of how easy every blocker is to remove, sometimes even with the same attack that they could be blocking. It's ridiculous. A 2-cost barrier blocker every now and then would not hurt the game. It would actually give us an insurance. Now, there would be some points where, yes, a person would just have 2 energy every turn to be like, oh, I'm just gonna play this 2-cost barrier blocker, and then you just get gummed up and you can't do anything. That's fair. But there are other things to get around that. You can have some barrier tech. I think that over time, including barrier on certain cards that make it harder to navigate around, not threats. This is, I think, honestly, the bad use of a card with barrier. This is a threat that can remove cards with barrier on it. I'm talking about passive utility cards that have barrier. A card that every turn can minus something by 1, but has barrier. Cool. That's a card that, you know, it sticks on the board, it provides something for the blue deck. It can't get removed easily, but you can always combo it off if you need to, things like that. A card that's 2 costs with barrier and blocker could work, but I think we also need some barrier tech. We need to give green a way to punch through barrier for a heightened cost. Maybe a 3-cost extra card that specifically removes something with barrier would be particularly worth, but maybe have a level requirement, 3 cost or less with barrier, place it in the trash, things like that. I think red, if anything, red would be the color that can get through barrier. Red should have minus that gets through barrier, and I think that red would be a much better color because that would allow you to interact with Frieza as well as Buu very, very well. And in the future, if we do get some, like, you know, 2-cost barrier blockers, some 1-cost utility cards with barrier, once again, you'll be able to interact with it specifically in red, bringing some value to the color. I'm not asking for the world, I'm just asking for some of the game to slightly shift, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Let me know how you guys feel, if you guys would make any more changes on a ban list, if we got like a miracle ban list just tomorrow. What would you guys put in it? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think this game could get in the future. I know a lot of you guys have put your 2 cents in on the other video. I just want to make some sugar to the salt of the other video. But yeah, like the video if you like this sort of content. Make sure you subscribe if you want more Fusion World and Gundam card game content. And check out the descriptions for my other channel, you know, the Patreon if you want to support. I do appreciate everybody that is currently supporting. And speaking of which, thank you for every Denizen of Universe X, Galactic Patrol, Universe Aristocrat, and then to my realm of Xers, my top tiers, my biggest supporters. I want to give you guys a special shout out: the Big Daddy Flapjacks, the Brewer R's, the Brother Bears, the Bryce R's, the Christopher V's, the Dallas S's. Thank you guys. You guys help me so much every day, every last one of you on that Patreon. Thank you so much for helping the brand float. And then last but not least, I want to give another quick callback to the Gundam locals going on in just 2 days. I will be playing myself, and yeah, it should be a pretty good time. It's the beta format plus proxies, so anything that has been spoiled on the official website is fair game, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later.